Welcome to A Magical Life, Health, Wealth and Weight Loss. I'm your host, Magic Barclay, lead practitioner at Holistic Natural Health Australia and #1 best-selling author. In this podcast, I aim to give you practical tips on how to accelerate and sustain your health, increase your financial, spiritual and emotional wealth, and to look at something that haunts many of us needlessly, weight loss. Now, sit back and enjoy, because it is time for you to create and truly discover a magical life. Welcome back to A Magical Life. I'm your host, Magic Barclay, and Martin Salama joins us today. Martin is known as the architect of the Warrior's Life Code. He specializes in helping people frustrated in their life quickly shift their mindset to uncover their greatness so that they can live their true potential and enjoy life. An example of what he's achieved is a client like Roberta, who lost her 6-figure job due to some craziness going on in the world, and she came to Martin depressed and felt very lost. Within a short time, she had, and I quote, direction, focus, and a renewed energy around all the possibilities that she could pursue, and getting back on track to enjoy her life. The key to Martin's success is that he's mastered the ability to live incredibly full everyday life, which he turned into that acronym and created the Warriors Life Code coaching program. Welcome, Martin.
Thank you, Magic. I'm so excited to be here with you.
I'm excited to have you here. Let's just discuss life for a minute.
Right.
Live incredibly full every day. I've discussed this with other podcast guests, and the human race seems to just live to live. Do you know what I mean? They get by just to get by. And I'm so glad that you're doing what you do, because I really think that's a key for the listeners to comprehend, is that you can get the most out of every day and it actually maximizes your enjoyment. You're not just existing.
Absolutely. That's how I live my day. It's come over many years of not living that way. And now I look at my life and I look at that statement, live incredibly full every day, with two things: being a happy life and a meaningful life.
Definitely. Okay, I ask all of my guests the same 3 questions and everyone gives me different answers. So here's your first one, and that is, what can your expertise do to accelerate health, not just physical, but also emotional and spiritual health?
Such a great question. Well, I honestly believe it starts with a good mindset. And if you're not feeling stressed, which is what I try to help people get through with my program, is for them to understand that the world is within their own control, how they see it, what they do with it. It will reduce their stress, which then will have an unbelievable effect on their health overall.
Definitely. And the next standard question is around wealth. What are your top 3 tips to creating wealth, not just financial, but also personal and emotional wealth?
So on the financial end, so we'll start with that one. The financial end has to do with setting yourself up for success by recognizing when the money's coming in, what are you doing with it? Are you putting them away into certain categories? I set up with my clients 4 separate funds for them to put some money in every day, every time they get money. It's about charity. It's about big expenses. It's about fun. And it's about, whatever, like emergency or paying down debt or something like that. And then when one of these things come up, you don't have to worry about the money that you have. You have it already put on the side. So that's the answer for the financial end. When it comes to personal success and it's about recognizing that where you are today is up to you moving forward. Don't look back, look forward, and understand it's about saying I can instead of I can't, or how can I? So when it comes to the personal and the emotional went really together, it's about understanding how your emotions show up by understanding that you can build your emotional strength by understanding, are you reacting or are you responding? And that's part of my course too, help the people understand that how you react is a big thing. If you learn to respond instead of react, for myself, I reacted to everything. I overreacted almost to the point of being like a nuclear reactor. And then I have to go around and fix what I did and clean up all the fallout. But if you understand that your emotions getting involved and how you could learn to change and not be so reactive and be responsive, that will add to your emotional as well as to your personal.
Great. Now, final question is around weight. Many people are battling their weight, and we know that stress is a major factor. But I think a lot of people look at coaches and say, well, you've never had a weight problem. What would you know? So, have you battled your weight? If so, how did you win the war? And what can you offer the listeners who might be in this journey?
Okay. So, yes, I have battled my weight. In 2008, when the world fell apart financially, I can't believe that's 15 years ago. I was a victim of that because I had lost everything. I was working on a project with my wife for about 5 years to build a multi-million dollar project here in the States. And it all went away just like that in September of 2008. A year later, I was just getting out of a depression from that and figuring out what I was going to do. So along that way, I started to gain more weight. A few months after that, I said, okay, what am I going to do now? I decided I wanted to become a life coach. And right after that, my wife said, I want a divorce. So I just kept on thinking everything was happening to me. And I started to emotional eat. And then I'd already decided that I wanted to become a life coach. I wanted to change what I was doing, but I didn't realize the effects that it was having on me personally. And a couple of years later, I'm a life coach. I was still getting myself out of my financial problems I had. I'd gotten to the heaviest I ever was. And I fell one day, and a friend of mine said, oh my God, it sounded like an earthquake. And he didn't mean anything by it. He felt bad. He saw that I hurt myself. I got up and I went into the house, dusted myself off. I had some injuries, some scrapes. That's how bad the fall was. I tripped up on a staircase and I said, okay, God, I got the message. And in 9 months, I lost 65 pounds. And what had happened was a friend of mine was talking about a 25-minute workout. I said, oh, I think I can do that, a video workout. I found the time to do it. I didn't have to go to a gym. I didn't have to do anything. I had to wake up a little earlier and commit. My why was that I wanted to be healthier. I wanted to feel better. I wanted to look better, all of that. So I said, okay. And those first few weeks of eating better and working out were tough. I was used to eating whatever I wanted. I was used to not working out. And those first 2 weeks, it would be hard. I would turn on the video and I would follow the modified person on the video and not be able to keep up with her. But I pursued and I persevered. And after 9 months, I lost 65 pounds. And along with that, I reduced my stress. I had a better self-esteem. And through that time is where I shifted my mindset from self-conscious to self-aware. And it's a big difference right there.
I think that's amazing that, it took such a big event, literally, for you to make a very small change to have such a great impact. I love that. Well, that's the
Thank you.
standard 3 questions, Martin. Let's open the floor to you. Tell us about Life Warrior Code and more about how it can help the listeners.
Okay. So I told you a little bit about my story with what happened to me with my divorce and all that. And as I was going through these things and deciding to become a life coach, I was started to think, why is everything happening to me? And it took me a little while to recognize is that was part of the problem. I was looking as everything happening to me and that I was the victim and that I should be upset about it and I should expect things to change just because things aren't going well. And I've come to learn that it's not that how things are happening to me. They're happening for me and through me. And what I mean by that is if I take control of my life, then things will happen the way I'd like to. It's a little bit of the law of attraction, but I go a little deeper. And one of the things I mentioned to you, Magic, is I just recently came out with a card deck of my coaching course. And it's about 30 something cards that go through some of the things that I teach in my course. It's a great way to learn some of the principles. And one of them is what I call the cycle of A's. And for me, that takes the law of attraction to the next level. So for those who don't really understand what the law of attraction is, it's people think, oh, you think about what you want and it attracts to you. If you think about it, it will attract you. That's just the lowest part of the foundation. There's so much more to it. So I have this cycle of A's, and it's 3-letter A's. The first one is ask. Ask the universe for what you want. It could be God, the universe, whatever you consider your higher power, ask. But that's not enough. That's the basic law of attraction. The next one is act. Start working towards getting it. Put some action steps to what you want and write down what you want and start working towards it. And then here comes the third one, which is the most difficult. But if you do it right, it's great. If not, you'll start to blame everybody else and say it doesn't work, or you'll say that's the law of attraction, or this doesn't work. And that is A for attitude. Have an attitude of a detached emotion to the outcome. Meaning that if you go through this and you start acting and asking and acting and doing all that, if you have an attitude of, oh, I need this to happen, the universe will hear the lack in you and it will stay away from you. You have to put it out there as I'm putting it out there. I want it to happen to me, for me, and I want it to happen through me, but I will not be emotionally tied to what happens. And then what happens is things will start to happen. And it could be one little thing you go, oh, that's a coincidence. No, that's the magic starting to happen. Excuse the play on words there, magic, but that's the magic starting to happen. And then as you get further into it, you start doing it. If things aren't going exactly right, you know what? It's the universe sending you a message saying you need to make a course correction. Instead of getting down on yourself and saying it's not working, it could be God or the universe telling you maybe it's not supposed to be working this way. A lot of times people say to me, I prayed to God and he didn't answer me. And my answer is, yeah, he did answer you. He answered no. So he's telling you it's not what's right for you. You've got to figure out what is right for you and then make that course correction. How does that sound?
That sounds great. So I think many people, especially these days, are, I guess, somewhat alienated from faith, from spirit, from inner beliefs. We've been raised believing one thing, and then the media and society and governments tell us to think another.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot of people out there that want to connect to a higher source, to a higher power, whether it be, God or spirit or whatever. How can they reconnect to that so that they can hear these messages? Because, so many people are so detached at the moment.
Yeah. I think a great way for people to reconnect to that is by starting off your morning with a routine. And for me, my routine is like this. I wake up every morning and I take out my gratitude journal. Now, I went out and I bought a nice quality one. Here in the States, they have a company called Moleskin that makes a real nice one. And every morning and also every evening before I go to bed, I write down 3 things I'm grateful for. Okay. And then I pray. I'm Jewish. I'm Orthodox Jewish. I actually put on the what we call tefillin and I pray to God. And then after that, I say my mantra to myself every single day, which is I live incredibly full every day. Now, this sets me up for the rest of the day to find the things I'm grateful for, to find the opportunities instead of looking for the problems, looking for all the terrible things that are going on around the world. There's a woman that's a mentor of mine. She's written books about magic, actually. Her name is Genevieve Davis. She's from the UK. And she talks about, and she says, the world is as you see it. So if you want to see the world as a beautiful place filled with opportunities, those opportunities will come up and show to you. If you want to see the world as a place that's downtrodden, with problems, with everything being negative, that's what you'll find. And God is there for me as my assistant, but not really my assistant. He's the one helping me get it. I can't do it alone. I surrendered to God, but that doesn't mean I wait for God to do things. I throw it up to God. I ask God for help, and then I go along my way doing what I need to do.
Wonderful message. Okay, can you pull the cards out and give us another example of how this works?
Sure. So I talked earlier about something self-aware versus self-conscious, how I went from being self-conscious to self-aware. So let me read a little bit about that card. Self-consciousness comes from a place of negative energy, guilt, conflict, and doubt. Self-consciousness is more outward directed. It's being more concerned about what others are thinking of you and how the situation is going to affect you. You probably react to uncomfortable situations instead of respond. That's just a little bit of what it says on the card. Self awareness comes from a place of positive energy, acceptance, contentment, and self assuredness. Self awareness is more inward facing. You have an accurate and realistic understanding of how you are responding to situations and how you feel about things. So that's how I look at the two things, self conscious versus self aware.
Great. Is there anything we haven't discussed, Martin, that you feel the listeners need to hear today?
How about this? Why don't you tell me a number between 1 and 32?
17.
All right, let's see what card number 17 says. So, card number 17 is part of my Uncover acronym. I took the word uncover and broke it down into 7 steps to help you uncover the things so that you could have your greatness. So, number 17 is navigate how your emotional roller coaster is holding you back. A huge part of moving forward is learning how to control your emotions. Moving forward starts by understanding and accepting that you can't change things or people. You could only change yourself, and understanding this is important. It's very common in many kinds of relationships, particularly marriages, that people come into a relationship believing they'll get their partner to change over time the things they don't like about them. Nothing can be further from the truth. If there are things you don't like about a person you may be in a relationship with, don't expect that you can change that person. You're better off stopping that relationship. I'm not just talking about marriages there. If you're in a friendship with someone and you're not both invested in a 50-50 way where you're both offering each other, then it's not going to work in the long run. So you have to navigate your emotions by understanding what works and doesn't work.
Terrific stuff, Martin. I'm loving these cards. Okay,
Thank
we
you.
love freebies. What can you offer the listeners and where can they find it?
All right. So I have for the guests something that I created on a whim because I was I was going to be on a summit for parents. And they said, what kind of free gift can you give for the parents? So I realized that I can give the parents a gift, but why not give the kids a gift too? So I created something that I have in my course is the warrior mindset, the abundant warrior within you, 7 secrets to an abundant mindset. And it goes through the word warrior and has 7 different steps to it about having an abundant warrior mindset. So I said, okay, I can give the parents a white sheet on this or something like that. But then I thought about it and I said, what can I give the kids? So we created a coloring book for the kids with the idea of teaching them about having a warrior mindset. And then I said, I had parents coming to me and saying, we love this. Can you make one for me too? So if you go to connectwithmartin.com, you can get either or both coloring books there as a gift from me.
Great stuff and very generous. So there's a number of ways that the listeners can get in touch with you, Martin. You're on Instagram at The Warriors Life Code. You're on YouTube at Martin Salama. You have websites, thewarriorslifecode.com and connectwithmartin.com. And where else can people find you?
Well, there's also LinkedIn. You can go to LinkedIn and find me there at Martin Salama. You can look me up. Yeah. And then there's also Martin at thewarriorslifecode.com.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you, Magic. It's been a pleasure being here with you.
And listeners, thank you for your time. Don't forget to like, review, subscribe, and share our little podcast wherever you are in the world and with whoever you want to share it with. And for now, go forth and create your magical life. Thanks for listening today. Please subscribe to hear future episodes, leave a review, and share this podcast. Drop us a line at A Magical Life Podcast on Facebook and let me know what you would like to know more about. You can find us on Instagram at Holistic Natural Health, that's holistic with a W, or at www.holisticnaturalhealth.com.au. That's where you'll access all sorts of articles, freebies, and more.